None of these cameras should start blinking, but if they do, please let me know. They're all plugged up, but it shouldn't happen. It's usually either the battery is dying or the memory card's full, but neither issue. Okay.
Hello, welcome to a new episode of Consequences of Beauty. Child, it's a different vibe today, but if you are new here, this is a podcast dedicated to the girlies where we discuss the good, the bad, and the ugly of self-development, and I am your humble yet spicy host, Desiree Monet, and also for my astrology babes, because we always do this, I have a sun in Libra, Virgo rising, and Sag moon. As you can see, we are in a new space, a new home. We are being sponsored by Aura House. Shout out to Aura House and our new home and our new partnership. And you also have probably already noticed that I have an amazing guest, a gorgeous guest that is sitting next to me. This young man is named Coston Blue. I have come across a lot of his content specifically on TikTok, and I'll just let him kind of run down a little bit of, who he is and where he's from. So introduce yourself.
Okay, well, hello, and hello everyone watching. My name is Coston Blue. I'm from LA. I'm a photographer, tarot reader, and a photo retoucher.
Oh,
so, yeah.
that's right. So if y'all need some help, we'll link all this information in the comment box below. Y'all already know what it is. And I kind of want to go ahead and get started. I've missed you guys. I haven't spoken to you guys in quite some time. And it's about time we catch up. So I want to go ahead and just jump straight into the conversation today. And we'll be talking about the dating pool, not only in the United States, because we all live in the same country, but we're going to talk a little bit more about the LA space. And my dating experience, I've been single for about 4 years now, and I've been dating kind of off and on when I have the time for it. And it's just been really interesting dating in LA because I had to relearn my red flags, green flags, and I've had to update the list. So I'll go ahead and jump into my green flags. Consistency, punctuality, holding your word. That's a big one for me. I'm huge on paying attention to the details. So those are generally my green flags. My red flags, not holding your word. Also, being cheap. I'm so sorry. I can't handle it. If you don't have it, don't do expensive dates. That's all I have to say. And also another red flag is not being truthful. Like, you don't got a lot to kick it. Okay, you really don't. So, curious on what yours are.
Oof, I have a long list.
Not a long list.
Mine, let's see, I feel like mine would be probably like just lying about like who you are as a person and like what you do. I know, right? And like it's like they try to kind of like impress you by like saying like different things, and then once you kind of get to know them, it's like, oh wait, you're not what you chopped up what you said you were, and it's just like.
Okay, and we jumped right in, but I know I introduced my sun, moon, and rising, and I know not everybody knows theirs, but this gentleman knows his. So I would love for you to say yours, just so the girlies that know.
Yeah, so I am an Aquarius sun, a Leo rising, and a Libra moon.
So you see how it kind of works, Again, Sag moon, Libra sun, and Virgo rising. But anyway, back to the topic at hand. So. Period. Anyway, so lying about what you do for your occupation. Let's stop doing that.
And about who you are as a person as well. because people be nice up front, but then once you kind of like get into the relationship, everything
It changes.
It changes, yeah.
It does. They do get comfortable.
Yeah.
Ew.
Yeah.
I mean.
It's like the true colors just jump out, and you're just like, oh, like that's who you were. Okay.
Let's not do that anymore. Hey, 2023, the rest of the year, let's not do that anymore. Cool. Cool. All right. So if you don't mind, I'll go first if you want me to,
Okay.
but please share the most outrageous lie that someone you dated or in a relationship, the most outrageous lie that they had.
Ooh, okay. This is gonna. I feel like okay. So, someone once told me that they make a certain amount, and you know when you kind of it's like they at first they can kind of like show it up, but I feel like as like time goes on, you kind of get caught, and you just like you do not make that much as you said you did.
We're not here for struggle love. That is out for 2023, and with this Leo and Libra placements, like we don't like that.
Yeah.
Please don't do
And
that.
with my Libra moon, I'll find out. Intuition.
You
Check
heard
that.
You heard him. I think from a big lie that's the biggest lie someone has ever told me. Oh gosh. This was kind of recent. Talking to this guy, and I'm not a gold digger. I'm a gold digger, and you have to have some wherewithal about yourself. You have to have your ambition. You already have to have things set up. I'm in my 30s, so we're not playing those Mickey Mouse games in our 30s.
It's not Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. So
At all. In your 20s, I mean, everybody is figuring it out in their 20s. 30s is a different conversation. So, dating this guy, and we kind of worked together a little bit on some things, and he would just, he would flash his money in terms of like his speech, and we would go certain places, and he would take care of what he needed to take care of when we were in the space. But there were conversations when we would go out. We were at this wine bar in Beverly Hills. I believe it's called Wally's or something like that. And just hanging out with a couple friends, and I got introduced to him. So this was when I first met him.
Okay.
But you can kind of tell how men's money is throughout that whole time period, because they'll, present their representative, of course, and time will tell. So we're having drinks, we're waiting for our table, and he's like, mind you, he's 6'5", I'm 5'10", so like I was already kind of smitten. I'm sorry, it's just it is what it is.
Yeah.
And he proceeds to tell me, because the people that I was with already had some work with all. He was just a new person to the space. And he was like, yes, I'm gonna be, I'm on track to be a millionaire, and I have these tattoos on my leg that, of these quote unquote billionaires, blah, 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 blah.
See, I feel like when people chop them up like that, like chop themselves up like that, and they like just boast like that, it's just kind of like, no. Like, there's obviously like a facade.
100%.
Yeah.
But I love it because I'm like, oh. That's
But that's how they get you, see? It's like,
No. If you jump out the gate like that on top, you're no shade, but you're a clown. No shade. So I'm just like here for the circus at this point.
Okay.
So I'm just like, oh, so how this gonna shake out? All right, let's see.
So you like to see things like play out?
Oh, 1,000%.
Okay.
Because we had other conversations, and he was a clown in those conversations. So I was just like, I'm just entertained at this point. So we get further into the conversation. Mind you, he was a triple Pisces.
Y'all, if anyone from TikTok here is watching, y'all know how I feel about Pisces men. Like, and triple Pisces at that.
Oh my, a mess. Well,
the Pisces man hits you up a run.
I don't know if that's, triple Pisces is a lot. Like, I told him, I was like, do you need a hug? Like, you've been through it. Cause like, are you here right now? Triple Pisces? Anyway, So throughout the night, we had to wait like 45 minutes for a table, and which was, we came in with no reservation, so it is what it is. We sit down at the table, and he just started really getting comfortable to the point where he was trying to order things but wasn't putting his card down. He didn't put his card down at the bar when we were getting drinks. His friend's card was down, and he was like, "Get another bottle." And my friend, young lady, she's a Cancer, double cap, so
Okay.
different vibe.
Yeah.
So she's like, "Oh, so you spending other people's money? When did you put down your card?" Because she put down her card too because she wanted to test
What?
to see if
Yeah.
he was like really gonna do what he said he was gonna do. Waiter came around. I'm sitting on the back half of the table. She's sitting on the other side. Triple Pisces is on the other side, and then the other guy, his friend, is sitting on the other side. Waiter comes to the side where the gentlemen are, starts to get the order. Triple Pisces like starts talking to the waiter and is like, "Yeah, can we get another bottle? And I think I want the steak. Do you have Wagyu?" Like, just is like going in. Mind you, from the bar, he didn't put down anything. And he's like, "Oh yes, my friend has it. My friend has it." And I'm just like, I'm stuck. Like, there was people sitting on beside me, and he was sitting over here. So I'm like, I'm stuck in between this big ass liar, and I can't leave quickly. But I'm still
You didn't have like
entertained.
a plan B, like to be like.
So I had hung out with the people on the other side of the table plenty of times before.
Okay.
So like, it wasn't like, oh, I need to escape. It was just like, I got paired up with him.
Okay.
So it was just like, I considered him initially because 6'5", and he was like this big brawly.
Was he like muscular?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I see.
So
I feel like that's like rose-colored glasses that you come in on when you first meet somebody. You kind of just ignore the red flags and just kind of like.
And I had just met him, so I'm like, okay, let's just see how this plays out. Whatever. Long story short, we go to another place after. He doesn't pay for anything there. And then he also invited another girl. So, but
Hold the phone. What do you mean another girl?
so he invited one of his friends that him and the guy invited a mutual.
Okay.
So she came. That was weird. That's another conversation for another podcast. And by the time the food had come, and so she was late, and then she started eating off of
Yoplait?
no.
Oh, okay. I was about to say. I was like, she's
No.
gonna be Yoplait.
No, Lord. The Lord know my heart, and He knew not to put that on me that day. But the guy got a chicken or something like that. It was like this big like rotisserie chicken. I don't know why he got that, but that's what he wanted, and he was paying the tab. So get whatever you want, sir. Like, enjoy yourself. So he starts sharing the chicken with the girl, and the Triple Pisces guy moves to the side. So he's sitting on the end of the table instead of the sides, but that was more of his friend.
Okay.
So the girl that came was more of the Triple Pisces friend.
Okay.
But he didn't order anything for her. He didn't order a drink for her. But
So she's just what's it called? Freeloading?
yes, 1000%. And I'm sitting there like, this is mad awkward. And it just got worse as the night went on. And I mean, I won't drag the story. Let it just. So, please don't lie about your pockets. It's okay if you don't have it.
Yes.
It's okay.
So like to back up to my story.
Yes.
There was the same guy, right?
Uh,
He was like a software engineer. And he kind of just graduated, so I was like, okay, maybe his
okay.
pockets are a little bit, a little heavy.
mm-hmm.
But
But it's first year out though.
first year out, yeah. But like I feel like the first year out, you're at least making like 50K.
Even more than
Keep in mind,
that.
I was a college student, so I
Oh,
was dead
yeah.
broke.
So 50K is definitely like a decent.
It's like the base.
Fresh out.
Yeah.
At
See,
20.
it's like you have like a little bit. He was 23 at the time.
Okay.
So it's like, okay, you have a little, you have a little, like, change to spare. But he takes me to, this is like in downtown San Jose, I went to school up north.
Mm-hmm.
And he takes me to like this hole in the wall Mexican like restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't even have like a name on it. It was just
Oh
like this building.
no.
And I had to pay for my own meal.
Okay, if it's 20, okay. If it's guys, I
That's
don't
the
know,
thing.
how does that work?
I don't know.
Guys?
So here's the thing. Like I feel like with guys, like you do have to kind of like it's kind of like a split the bill type of thing.
Okay.
But
I'm
there's
sorry.
some guys who do like because like when they want to show off like their money, they want to pay for the other person.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
It's different rules. I'm learning
So
a lot.
after the restaurant though, we went to the movies.
Okay.
Didn't pay for my ticket as well.
Okay, cute.
So I had to pay for my own ticket. I even asked the lady, I was like, is there a student discount? She's like, nope. I was like, okay. Perfect. Then like even in like in the movie theater, like I wanted to sit in the back, you know what I mean? Because like you can do some things in the back.
We're
he
adults
sat
here.
in the front, and I was just like, okay, I guess we can sit in the front and just be,
Watch the
statues and watch the movie. Like, I'm trying to like,
See what's what. I
Yeah.
get it.
But yeah, so he just kind of lied about his pockets, and I have to pay my way for everything. And
I'm so sorry.
it's okay, honestly. Like I kind of get it though, because you're in your 20s, you don't really know. I feel, and here's the thing, he was bisexual. He wasn't like.
Oh.
So I feel like that kind of just makes sense, and also I feel like he just wanted to just hook up.
Oh.
So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I'm so sorry.
It's
I mean,
fine.
it's college too, so that was the vibe in college. I get it. Well, I mean, speaking of careers, like you said, he was an engineer, his first year out. So you were in school, yes?
Yes, I was like 19 at the time.
Okay, so what did you graduate?
I graduated with my a photography and art degree.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so when did you go straight into corporate America, or did you do freelance?
So I did freelance for like a little bit, like I think a few months after I graduated.
Mhm.
Then I went to corporate America
Okay.
after that.
How long did you do? How long's your time?
In freelance or corporate America?
Corporate America. How much time
It's
did you
still
do?
going.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So you do both?
I do both. I try to do both. It's kind of hard. The first job that I had didn't allow me to do freelance.
Mm-hmm.
And keep in mind, this was like peak inflation. So gas was like $6, and
Jesus.
groceries were sky high. Eggs.
Like now?
Yeah, they're still it's still
Like
it's still
that.
like that. But like,
Mhm.
and I was getting paid I think 16. First of all, I was getting paid $7.25 because I was an intern first.
Ooh, I remember them days. That was a long time ago.
Yes. And I was like, in the interview though, he told me it was 15 an hour.
Oh, he
But then
tried it.
But then it was like this weird thing. Like I had to sign a contract. I think like the first week I was
Mhm.
there. But before I signed the contract, my coworkers were like, "Oh hey, like do you want to go out for drinks like at like 3 p.m. for lunch?" I was like, "Sure." Later that day though, I had to sign that contract. And this was like at the end of the day.
That
so
sounds
I
like
was
set up.
That's what I was thinking. And so I was kind of like a little tipsy. It was the end of the day, so I was kind of tired. And he was like, "Okay, here's the contract." Like, the thing is though, like I feel like I wasn't in like my right mind. 'Cause,
Of course.
end of the day, I'm tired. Like I'm like a little tipsy,
Mm-hmm.
and I was just like, okay, I saw it said $1,500 a month instead of 15 an hour. Or no, yeah, 15 an hour.
No.
So then I was like, okay, I saw the 15, so I was like, oh shoot, like sign it, and I'm like,
Oh my
and
god.
that was it. And I was like, then I got my first check. First of all, he didn't give it to me right away. I had to keep asking him. I feel like he was trying to like,
playing
delay
with
the
your
process.
money.
And then he gave it to me at the end of the day. I opened it up. I was like, I was set up, y'all. I feel like I was set. That place was toxic too. Like Ooh.
Speaking of toxic work
Yes.
environments, have you found any work environments that were less toxic or not toxic as you've, gone through your
so
career?
basically, the job that I have now is
Okay.
a lot less toxic
You
because
said a lot less.
it was a lot less. Because at the other job, I was getting like yelled at, like people were in my face, like this close in my face, like yelling at
We will tussle.
me. Yeah.
No.
I wanted to. I
Sad
almost did. When my manager, you watching right now, like we almost were like just brawling in that little tiny. It was like the size of this room, basically. It was like a little tiny like startup office.
Ew.
Mm-hmm.
Ew. It's kind of common, I've heard, that startups are usually more so like that because for one, HR is usually not in the conversation. So, most corporations or private entities or whatever don't feel the need to adhere to those, rules and regulations. Of course, there's the EEOC, like we all know about that, but that's a different, bigger entity. Another conversation for another day.
Yeah.
But in terms of like maintaining a healthy environment, you're just literally working with a lot of people that, have invested money in a business and they just want to see it grow and they're stressed out. And if they don't have very good coping skills or very, intelligent, emotional skill sets,
Which they did not have.
it comes out on you and it's just like, why are we working like this? Like,
Yeah.
why is this?
And
a
keep in mind, this
thing?
was Monday through Sunday sometimes.
Oh.
So I didn't even get a break.
Mm-mm.
I had to wake up 7:30 a.m. to catch the bus because I didn't have a car at the time. I was dead broke. And I would get out at like 6:30 almost, take the bus back, get back home at 7:30, and then get on a meeting at like 9 p.m. for like an hour, or 15 minutes or so.
That's a lot.
Yeah, and this was like every single day. And then on Saturday we did like photo shoots. It was for like a jewelry company.
Mm-hmm.
So we would do photo shoots that would last at least almost all day.
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes we would have to like leak into Sunday.
Mm-mm.
And then just come back right on Monday, like nothing happened. And that's how they worked. I'm like, that's not how I work. So like as time went on, I kind of, lied a little bit. I'm like, oh, I have something to do Saturday, Sunday. But I was really doing like my freelance stuff.
As you should, because you're not
If-
getting paid for that.
Yeah.
So I've jumped in and out of the corporate space. I prefer not being in the corporate space. Shout out to the corporate baddies. I don't have a temperament for corporate just because it's a few things. It's the red tape, it's the politics, and I know it's necessary for certain things, but when you're in the marketing space, when you're in the entertainment space, the red tape just slows things down and it makes things more expensive, whether you're spending more time or spending more money because you have to wait for this person or wait for this person instead of being like, you handle this, these are your parameters, go for it. I know I'll hold some of this tea, but if you know me, you know what I'm talking about right now. I've been in environments where I've been given the free reign, and then this corporate structure, we went from more of a creative space, like on some like Google vibes, to weird white man corporate America vibes. And there were not white people working at this establishment. That's all I'll say. Anyway, so to go from that in a short amount of time was crazy because the dynamics changed and suddenly everything that you did prior to the corporatization, I just made that up, but that might be a word, I'm not sure, of the institution or of the business, it was like my work prior to that did not matter. So I have a business. I've been in business for a few years. I was bringing my business expertise. Like in the interview process, I'm like, I'm going to approach this as a consultant, not necessarily as an employee. Because if I'm clocking in and clocking out, you're going to get the bare minimum. But if I'm approaching it as I'm here to add to your business and you're here to add to my bank account so that I can do other things, we have this understanding, let's move forward. And that was the agreement. In the interview, I didn't provide any type of debt. deck. It was literally like I sold my skill sets. You can go to my platforms. You've seen what I've done. I've worked with this person and this person. And that was the general conversation. And then when we moved over to the corporate side of, you know, protocols, it was like, why didn't you talk to this person? Why didn't you talk to this person? And the person that I was supposed to talk to, i.e. my manager, wasn't very qualified. They knew how to do the grunt work. Mind you, they were 10 years younger than me. What?
How old were you at the time?
10 years older, let's just say that. I was 10 years older than them. But you know, I'll take one for the team. They had been there like 2 years. I've been there a couple months. So seniority. So it's like, you know what, I'll eat it, but this person had no soft skills. No soft skills, no leadership qualities. And for me, I've been in leadership positions since high school, like presidents of organizations, you know, secretary, like just like working my way up through the ranks. Mind you, I graduated in 2006, so I'm not new to this at all, okay? Anyway, but so I gave the young lady enough grace to let her bump her head, but I'm like, I know that I'm a guinea pig right now. I know you're testing out whether this works or not. And I was given 2 jobs. 2 jobs. So what I interviewed as, here's some tea. What I interviewed as was not what actually came up on my, when I got my contract, my offer letter. So the
job description?
Yeah, so what I interviewed as and then what I got as the contract was 2 different things. So I have sending emails is not hard. But what I interviewed as was not the same as what I got from the CEO. But anyway, you know, little tea. If you go down rabbit hole, you go down rabbit hole. So that was probably my first red flag. But I was trying to transition back into the corporate space from, you know, being in the entertainment space. And
that's a hard transition too.
Oh my gosh. I have a 4-year degree, okay? From a accredited university, it's a huge university, St. Louis University. It's a Jesuit institution, okay? So if you know that term, Jesuit, that's old Catholic vibes, okay? Went abroad to run my resume. I'm very valid. So for me to go back into space, I had to humble myself a little bit. I'll pick up a little work to, you know, get more experience. But that was the first toxic thing. And then after that, it was just one thing after the other. We were in a meeting and we had to emotionally regulate for this.
What?
The person in charge got upset and told us to turn on music because she was mad.
This is not real. Is this real?
If you from New York, dead ass. Dead ass. And I'm sitting next to another creative next to me and she's looking at me like, is this serious? And I'm like, jeez, girl, turn the music on. Because this is funny and let her get herself together. It's fine. We're just gonna kiki. Because I was just like, for me, if you're not gonna put them things up, I don't care. I really don't care. If you, and I'm not necessarily knuck if you buck all the time, but again, I have a Sag moon. I'm a little spicy. I'm a little spicy. But, and that was the myriad of things that I'm just like, what's wrong with this girl?
Yeah.
Like, why are we? But I kept it cute. And thus we're here.
Yay.
Yay. You know what I'm saying? You know, I could share tea.
Me too, child.
I think I might, you know, I'm considering doing like either like a little Patreon to really share the deets because I'll give up tea. I did not sign an NDA.
Ooh. Can I be on there too? 'Cause I got a lot of tea as well.
Yeah, you know what? We're gonna make that work.
Okay,
We're gonna make
okay,
that happen
okay.
because like sometimes it's just like you gotta hold people accountable when they don't hold themselves, or you're in a space of this power struggle, and then we're all around the same age. She was only like 5 years older than me, and my sister is 5 years older than me. So
know your place.
like,
I have no words. I have no words.
I'm trying to
speechless.
keep it cute right now. I'm really trying to keep it cute. And with saying all that, there was a lot of like self-care that I had to do a lot, and I had to check in with myself all the time because it was like, this is not my energy, and that's how I was able to kind of stay for as long as I did, because it just didn't make sense for me to stay as long as I wanted to, but also at the same time I wanted to make sure that everything else was in place before I vacated the premises. So that self-care routine was like integral, and also like reminding myself of like, these are not my emotions. So when that incident happened, I was like, oh, she wants us to regulate for her. I'm familiar with narcissists. Like, I've been a narcissist slayer since like elementary school.
Me too, Chuck.
Like, I went toe to toe with Miss Wentworth. I still remember your name.
Catch me outside.
Catch me outside, sis. But anyway, I've always had a mouth. I've always had a problem. Not a problem with authority, but I've always questioned authority.
Yeah.
And you know, when you work or live or around, they want to throw their weight around sometimes. And as a little kid with a good big mouth and very smart, I'm just like, why is that? Why do I have to do that? Why are you like this? Adults don't like that,
Yeah.
especially in the 90s. The adults didn't like that. But in terms of self-care, like, I've been able to have little, I won't say coping mechanisms, but like ways to like turn it off and not internalize any of the stuff that they have going.
Yeah.
So I'm curious on like, when you've been in those toxic environments, what were the ways that you were able to like do a self check-in or just make sure you had strong self-care routines?
So on my lunch break, I parked in like the garage. I would just go to my car and just basically just decompress because I couldn't wait till the end of the day, because the disrespect that I got was just too much. And so like at my lunch break, I was like, I'll see y'all later. I can go to my car,
Get out of space.
turn some music on, and just like meditate for like an hour, and then like brace myself to go back in.
Not brace yourself.
Yeah, and then I'm glad I did like a bus ride home, because if I drove home, I would take it out on traffic, because me driving in LA, I'm spinning in and out. I got my music blasting. I'm like,
Yeah.
So yeah. Also that does kind of help too, just like getting your anger out in road rage.
Yeah, but you don't
But
want
it's kind of dangerous, yeah.
because LA,
some
they
people
will
have
tap you back.
guns, Yeah.
LA will
People-
tap you back.
People be getting out their cars.
Oh, yeah.
Trying to bust your window out and stuff like that. So.
Did you hear about the guy? I think he drove a Tesla. I think it's like maybe like 2-3 weeks back. He would be caught on camera jumping out of cars, like with with like a huge rod or something like
Yeah.
that. And I think that he eventually went to jail. So if you come to LA, you're fine. But
I mean, not really, because there are more people out there like that. But.
you're right. You're right. But I'm glad you found other ways to
Yeah, and also working out too. Yeah.
work. Yes. Putting that energy into your workout. So I mean, the best revenge is getting more money and getting more fun.
In anything in life.
Everything in life.
Everything.
So for the younger girlies out there, don't get revenge. That'll get you a misdemeanor. Please don't. It's not
Let
worth
karma
it.
do its thing. Karma will handle everything.
That
Trust.
part.
It may take like a little bit of time, but
Karma
trust.
is a patient.
yeah.
Okay, she's very patient, and I've seen her show up. And I just, that's why I've learned to sit back and watch and let things be, because karma be like, sis, I got you. She taps me out, so I don't tap in.
Karma came quick when my first job ended for the person who was disrespecting me.
How so?
So, okay, this is like this whole situation. Like, I feel like during the time, my manager, who was like a guy, his girlfriend were like, first of all, I think he was a little racist and homophobic too.
A little sprinkle.
But I feel like he was taking out like his relationship problems on me at work, you know, like that anger and animosity. And one day he just didn't come in. And I was just like, what is going on? And this is when I was like finishing my 2 weeks. And so the last day that I was there, the owner, first of all, he made the owner, like, he like painted me out to be like this incompetent person, like, in the office, yeah. And even in front of the owner, he would like, you know, shout out my mistakes in front of the owner. So like the
he's
owner
trying to
had
front you out.
exactly, because I was
stop doing that.
I was kind of coming for his wig. Okay, I was coming for his job because I was getting like good at my job, like when I was there. So I feel like he was like threatened by that, and so
you look silly when you do that.
yes. So the last day, like I get called in the office by the owner, and by that time the owner like loved working with me, but I was leaving, so it's kind of like too late. And I was like, so what's the tea on, you know, this manager, like, or you know, because he hasn't been for like a month almost. He's like, well, he broke up with his girlfriend for 10 years. And I was like...
There's therapy.
Yes. And he just disappeared after that.
Oh.
And so I feel like, I don't know, I'm like, because this was around the time he was like really just honing in on me, and I was just like praying to God. I was like, God, like...
Don't you hate that?
Yeah.
And you try to avoid them, and they're just like, oh no,
Because I was literally about, because I remember one day I wore my sweatpants, I got my Adidas on, I was like, okay, if he says something to me, I'm like, it's up and it's stuck. Like, I'm ready.
It's me and you.
But that day, I feel like he kind of knew, he felt that energy, so he didn't like really do too much. But that's what happened to him. Yeah. And that's that karma that's coming quick. Like,
my karma's on the way. I just, it usually takes about a year.
Yeah.
It's still a little fresh. But I just let karma do what she's, I mean, I got my little licks here and there, you know, subtle gang violence out here. That's what I like to call it. Oh, so I had a few girlfriends at where I worked, like, so work friends. And like, they knew what was happening, but it was almost like, when I say subtle gang violence, I'm talking about like the subliminal attacks that I would send out. Like, so we would have we had this team meeting. I'll share this. Ooh. We had this team meeting, and it was every stupid Monday. And I mean, I love teams, but sometimes it's just like, I just want to go do work. Why do I have to like see y'all on a Monday morning, bright and early, 10 o'clock? Anyway, this one, they had asked us on Friday to send up our favorite songs, or like a song we really resonate with right now. And I was really getting back in the gym, so sometimes I like to listen to really ratchet music to just like, you know.
Yeah.
And I do the bike, so I cycle.
Peloton or no? Or just just a gym bike?
Basically, yes.
Okay.
So I like, you know, and I take a lot of cycling classes and things of that nature. So it's, you know, it's Cardi B, it's Megan Thee Stallion, some of Beyonce, you know, like Church Girl, like that's on the playlist. I love a good playlist. And this particular one, I just got more into my hood playlist. I'm from St. Louis originally, so Midwest. So we used to go to Atlanta, we used to go to Texas, Houston. So like, we like chopped and screwed, Atlanta music, so like heavy bass. So on this particular day, a higher up really tried me, and I was like, subtle gang violence. So the song that I chose for that Monday meeting, bright and early, was Notorious B.I.G. and what was it? Not 3 6 Mafia. What is it? It was Get Money. Junior Mafia and Biggie, Get Money.
Oh my God.
I did it as a little like, but during the
Try
week.
it if you want to.
Yes, 100%. And they were like, so why do you know? And then I didn't know we had to explain it. They just asked us for like songs. I thought they were gonna like maybe guess whose song is what. But they wanted us to give like this weird synopsis of why we chose the song. And they didn't say it until the meeting. So I said, oh, this is a setup. This was a setup. But I'm like, we here now, subtle gang violence. Throw it all up, whatever. So when it came to me, I was like, you know, it's self-explanatory. I really don't need to say more. I mean, the lyrics is F, N words, get money.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kind of left it at that. It was just like this pregnant pause, and then they moved on. So,
Was it like a silence?
it was, because everybody was looking at me. So my friends that know me were just like, get out the camera, just the little cackle on the side. It's like Desiree's out here like,
chopping it up.
don't start nothing, won't be nothing.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I feel. But
F around and find out.
100%, 100%. But it is what it is, and it did what it needed to do because it actually moved me into more of a creative entrepreneurial space because it allowed me to really see the inner workings of a small business that was still kind of not, I won't say necessarily in the startup phase. They're not seasoned.
Mm-hmm.
They've been around for a couple of years, but it hasn't been like 10, 15 years. And really they only got popping really in the last couple of years, like last 2-3 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I say that all in to say moving into that creative entrepreneurial space was the goal when I went into the space. It was just I wanted to see how she built that business, and I got to experience it firsthand. So give and take, but in terms of like getting into that space, that's the cheat code. It's like working for startups and just kind of figuring out how they take what their system is. And I'm actually kind of curious on how you've gotten into your freelance entrepreneurship, especially with photography, and also we'll talk about tarot in a second, but we'll start about photography first.
So you want to know like how I started? Or?
Yes, like what were the seeds or the little notes that you picked up from the corporate space that you brought into your entrepreneurship?
Okay, so I just watched, first of all, I kind of just went on YouTube, to be honest, and just
YouTube University.
saw people like shooting with other people, and like they were like, teaching you how to treat the models and how to talk to them and how to pose them, all that stuff. I feel like that's really where I learned because like, child, I did not need school, to be honest, because I did not learn any of that in school.
Say that.
But I just, when I went to the first job that I had, we had photo shoots, like they would not treat the models like as well. They treated them like, okay, but like I just had a different way of treating, because I already was doing freelance, and then, I was like comparing like what I do to what they do, and like I remember one time I was like, assisting a shoot, and they didn't like, I would have to ask the models like, do you want water? I had to fan her down because the lights are hot.
It's a lot.
So I'm like fanning her down, and she's like, thank you, like, and you can tell like she, and like the other people who were like, I was just like the assistant, like the main photographer and the other person who was kind of like running the show, like they weren't really doing that for her. And it was like I had to like step in and do that. I know like I'm an assistant, but like I feel like as a photographer as well, you should have that type of knowledge of like how, like to be in tune with how the model feels, and not kind of like let them sit there and like just suffer in silence. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
yeah, because it's gonna come across in the pictures eventually.
Yeah.
I get it. So my next question then is, so after gaining, getting the tea from YouTube University, because I learned a lot from YouTube. I've been on YouTube since like 2009, so I get it.
Yeah.
How would you say your business has like grown within the last maybe like, let's say 10 years? I would assume.
Okay. Well, I've been doing it for I think since 2021, somewhat like 3 years or 2 years.
2021. Okay, so
Yeah.
I just put my age on you. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
I'm so sorry. My
So
bad.
yeah, I started in 2021, and I think it's just, I don't know. I feel like it's just really connecting with like the people that we work with, and also because I've always, it's like it was always like through friends. Having a good network is really really
Do
important.
business with your friends. Issa Rae said it. Reach to your right and your left.
Yes. Because like their friends will introduce you to like their friends, and then it just goes on from there, and then like you get to know people who are because I knew one person, their name is Matrix,
Mm-hmm.
and they connected me with a modeling agency when I was like, because I would work with them like all the time, and they're finally like, you can, like let me just send your pictures into this modeling agency, and they'll send you like a whole bunch of models to do test shoots for, and like that's kind of how like I grew,
Cute.
and I grew like. I kind of grew it from there, and then I kind of got connected with like all these models, and then I still have the connections now, and I'm still kind of like shooting with them. So
Yes, longevity,
Yes.
long money.
and how to keep that longevity is to be really just empathetic towards your models as well, and not be so like not treat them as like a mannequin.
Mm.
Really connect with them so that they feel like a human, and they'll want to work with you again.
So I ran my credits earlier. Please share, since we're in the space, it's appropriate now at this point. Please share whatever you're comfortable with, of course.
Like my Instagram and all that stuff.
Your
or-
Instagram, who you've worked with, whatever you'd like to share.
Okay. Well, my Instagram is Coast and Blue. Who I've worked with, Matrix Mika on Instagram, Amber Zarati on Instagram. What else? I think there's so many people. I just like you kind of sprung this on me. So,
I
like, just,
I know. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I'm so sorry, but like if you go to my Instagram, you'll see like everyone tagged in all my photos, so you can.
And we'll put all his information in the description box, of course. Y'all know what it is. I'm also curious on like professionally. So outside of the Instagram space, would you want to share like the corporate professional work that you've done?
Yeah, so I work for Industry Artworks. It's just this company that we like kind of retouch Amazon and Netflix and all these other type of TV shows and movies and stuff like that. So yeah, that's like kind of what I do now for like my main job.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you have real checks, real budgets, please reach out. If you don't, it's okay. Take time, get it right. But please don't reach out.
We're in a
If
kind
you
of
don't.
recession, low key, so I kind of get it.
But still, these things have to be paid for.
Yeah.
Well, so we've gotten, the corporate conversations around creativity out of the way. So let's really go into your other entrepreneurial
Yes.
endeavors, which is tarot, which I actually came across his TikTok. He was reading me down. So the situation that I shared earlier, he was giving me the tea on, because I'm not in the space anymore. I'm going to be honest, I'm not in the space anymore. And I don't really care, but the universe is like, here's some information for you just in case you want it, girl. So go ahead and kind of like dive into like kind of how you got into tarot initially.
Okay. So it's a little bit sad. Like, sorry about that. But like,
We'll bring it back.
yeah. But basically, I was just in like a really narcissistic like relationship,
Who
and-
hasn't? But
and it was
but
a
I'm
Pisces,
here.
it was a Pisces man.
Oh.
So that's why I don't like Pisces men.
I understand. I get it.
And basically after all that, like after I just cut this person off, and I feel like I needed like a healing, something like to heal myself. So I started watching like a lot of tarot readers on YouTube, and I was just like you're like you were. I was kind of like, oh wow, like this is like really like
Resonating.
yeah, resonating with me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was watching this one video, and this lady, she had like these really beautiful like black and gold cards, and like that's kind of like my vibe, like black and gold.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, ooh, I'll just order that for myself because I really want to learn how to do tarot as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that, and then I just
When
started-
was this? What year?
this was like I want to say 2021.
Okay.
So this is the same year that I started like my business too, because like
Okay.
he just held up everything for me, or
Mm.
so like, because my attention, energy, and everything was just on him, because he had just issues like down,
Yeah.
came from like abusive, narcissistic family as well, and the mom was on bed, so I was just
Oh.
like, yeah, so I was dealing with that, and I was like,
Sorry, that was insensitive. Sorry.
so I was like, yeah, I gotta, because he just wanted me to basically like baby him. And he didn't want to take my advice, anything like that. We'll get into that like in another thing. But yeah, so like basically I just started doing readings for myself for I think about like a year and a half or so.
Mm.
And then after I left my toxic job, got this new job, they have like a really good work-life balance. So I wasn't working Monday through Sunday. And I just remember like on a weekend, I was just like, I need to like, like do something. Because my photography was kind of like dying down. And I just felt so empty, because also being in corporate, it makes you kind of feel a little bit like soulless.
It's 222, by the way, you guys.
That's my number
Sorry.
too.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, it's okay. No, like that's my number. I love that number. Anyways, so I was like, let me just like get my tarot cards and go to this parking lot, sit in my car, and just like do a reading and just see like what happens. And the first reading that I did, like, kind of did really well. And so I was like, okay, like, period. Like, let me just keep doing it, because everyone's like, oh, this is so accurate. Like, I love this, da da da. And then I just, went from there. Just blew up from there. Yeah.
It's interesting that you came into contact with tarot, and you said 2021, right?
Yeah. And I was kind of spiritual before that too. And I always wanted to get into it. But, I came from a religious family, and they're like, that's like the devil stuff, like don't touch it. But it came to me like at a place where I was like, I needed it most.
And that's the interesting about tarot. Like anything spiritual, whether you are Buddhist, whether you're Jehovah's Witness, like for me, there's a specific text or a set of requirements or steps, or just how you basically are initiated into whatever spiritual practice. I feel like they're kind of the same across the board. They just have different details, but there's a practice, there's specific people that you speak to, or specific entities that you speak to. It's just like, what are you called to? Especially depending on the place you were born in the world. Like some people are just born into specific religions. But I digress. The reason why I bring that up is because just like you just stated, like I've always been spiritual. I was kind of brought into the Roman Catholic Church when I was like 15, 16, something like that. And I always question authority. So I'm like, why does this book? And I was a very book heavy context person. I was reading Macbeth in 7th grade. So I love books, and I would read it down. So coming to the Bible and listening to the pastor, and he would be like, this passage means this, and do a whole 2-hour homily about it. And I'm like, I didn't get that.
That don't add up.
No, and literally just frustrated during every sermon. I'm like, where did you get this from? Because what you're saying and what this is saying is not matching up. It's not mathing. So, I kind of moved away from the church, and I also had like my own moral compass. I knew what I wanted. I knew what I didn't want. And I stayed in the spiritual space, but I never really had like a specific document or title of what, I was practicing. So 2019 rolls around, big tower moments for my tarot ladies and gentlemen. The 10-year relationship broke up, and devastated. Just now I can make fun of it, but I was devastated in a ball in the corner, going through it. But I had friends that were really into the spiritual space, but they were also like they were standing in between being both Christian, but also like practicing in like African tradition, and also the spirituality that kind of lives in LA. And a friend of mine introduced me to, he had a candle, and he had like a bunch of candles that, he had been burning through, and he was like, a lot of stuff is starting to manifest and happen after I got all of these candles. And no, this is not sponsored, but shout out to House of Intuition, because, your intuition led you there, and it definitely led me there with that first candle. And it was the 2020 candle that I got, and it was like a limited edition. I actually still have the actual candle, just because it's just a memorable thing. Long story short, I got introduced to tarot after I started buying the candles, because I was like, oh, this is complementing, the tarot space. Because I looked at candles and crystals and stuff like that, like Apple, iPad, iPhone, Mac. Like, it's all these different things that, will help you do your work. if you will. So I was always nervous about getting into tarot, but I was obsessive. I went down the rabbit hole of tarot online and was just trying to learn. And then I actually got my own cards eventually in, I think it was maybe 2020, the end of 2020. So it's really interesting for you to say that your spiritual awakening with the cards at least happened around that time, because I noticed a lot of other people were starting to get, tapped in. Because, okay, this is the last little story I'll share. I live in LA. I've been an entertainer for as long as I've been here. And I got booked for a job. It was Nebuchadnezzar, Kanye West's Nebuchadnezzar at the Bowl. Child, it was a mess. It was kind of mess. But anyway,
it was just
it was a mess. It was a church. It was basically like a church. What do you call it? A church play. That was the vibe.
Oh, okay.
It was how's this?
Just low budget fundraiser vibes.
Ooh, that's a story for another day. That's for Patreon. Because when I tell you that job was a mess. But anyway, I was introduced to this girl. Her name was Desiree. My name is Desiree. If y'all don't know, Desiree Monet specifically. But she was light skinned, really big eyes. And for me, I was still exploring the spiritual space, and I was also playing with paradigms and matrix kind of stuff, and what would my life be if I took this route, and this is, doppelgangers was a thing at the time. So I was just she's giving me doppelganger, and I was really playing with the thought of having tarot cards. So I go to this, this job, and she's literally sitting, we're at the Hollywood Bowl. So we're sitting on a curb because it was that ratchet, but whatever. It was a job. Anyway. And she was pulling cards, and I was how long have you been pulling cards? She was my mother gave me my first deck. And I was what, your mother gave you a deck? And I was how old were you? She was 12. And she explained it so eloquently, basically saying it's just a conversation between her and her higher self. And I was oh, that really took my fear away from approaching the cards, because I'm gonna approach it with respect, because I'm familiar with the spiritual practices of Louisiana.
Yeah.
So I don't want no problems.
Yeah, and that's when I read my cards, I always say God, angels, and universe. That's who I ask to give me some answers.
Because if you ain't talking to nobody, there's still gonna be somebody that comes through.
Yeah.
So you have to be very specific, and I didn't know how to approach it. So in having that conversation with her, and then how her mother passed it on, and then it's being this light-skinned, big, bold-eyed Desiree doppelganger in front of me, I'm I get it. Let's try it. Let's go down this rabbit hole. I get it. But my experience with tarot has been amazing. I mean, the first deck that I bought is a little aggressive. It's called the Bad Ad of Tarot. That girl is aggressive. I can only use her occasionally because she just be reading me for filth, and she a little rough.
How many piles do you have?
I have 2 decks, the Rider-Waite decks. I have 2 of those, and then I have a Lenormand.
Okay.
And then I want to get more decks, but I want to learn the Rider-Waite first, a lot better than what I know it, because I know Lenormand better, because it's only 26 cards, and that was a little less intimidating for me versus the full 250 cards. Is that it?
I don't think it's 250.
150.
Maybe, yeah.
It's a thicker deck.
Yeah.
I'm being dramatic, but it's a thicker deck versus the 26 cards. So I have 3 decks to answer your question.
Because what I've noticed that if I don't use one of my decks for a while, I feel one of them will get a little bit jealous, and it acts a little bit more aggressively when you play with it. That's what I've noticed.
That makes sense, though.
Yeah.
They do have their own energies and their own personalities, and you can. That's why if you've ever watched tarot and people are I'm gravitating to this deck, it's literally hey, focus me today. That's be the energy.
Yeah.
That's interesting that your cards are kind of
happened to
catchy.
me last week. After I left here, I wanted to do a reading, and I was I haven't used this deck in a while. I picked it up, and right when I opened it, the cards were just flying over the place. I was like, okay. It was never that active for me, like, ever, because, like, I just didn't feel like a really good connection with it. But they're like, oh, you gonna connect with me today. I was just like, okay.
So I do want to make this statement. I probably should have started with this, but approach with caution, approach with respect, do your research, because you don't want to get, you know, I like to call it a dulo twist. Like, you don't want to be in a full Nelson because you done dabbled in some stuff that you haven't done your research on.
Yeah.
So again, I'm a Virgo rising. Okay, so I'm going to do my research and I'm going to tread lightly because, I mean, you can get off into some other stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, but if you're called to do it, get into it, because yin and yang, dark and light, you can't have one without the other. One doesn't exist without the other. So I'm not coming for it. So just be careful, be mindful. Try to get a guide or anything like that. But thank you so much for joining me today.
I loved it today. It was nice.
I enjoyed it. So we've met before and we had a good conversation. I wanted to save a lot of the conversation for you guys because, you know, it's better when it's just like raw. So we had a little bit of a conversation prior to, but I wanted to make sure you guys got the full gist of the conversation. And also, welcome to the new space. This is a friend of the show. He'll be back for another episode. Definitely stay tuned. Check out all of his handles below, okay? All of the handles. Don't make me come for you. I will. If you're subscribed, I can see you, okay? So I'm gonna go to his page and see if you followed him or if you liked any of his stuff. I'm gonna be watching, okay? Again, I do really appreciate you coming on to Consequences of Beauty.
It's an honor.
Thank you. I try. We're gonna close this out because we got stuff to do. It's a Saturday. I'm hungry. I need to eat something. Ooh, where you going? You know what? We're not telling you that because it's the internet. We're not doing that. But thank you guys so much for tuning in for another episode of Consequences of Beauty. If you haven't already, follow, subscribe. We're on YouTube. We're also on pretty much all of the streaming platforms, Spotify, iTunes. It'll all be there. Everything will be listed below. We thank you so much for joining us today, and we will see you in the next episode. He'll be around. He's a friend of the show officially. He doesn't know this, but he's here to stay. He'll be back. And please reach out if you need a reading. It's really easy.
Link in bio on my TikTok.
You heard him. I don't do readings.
It's only $15, so no excuse.
No excuse. I mean, I know we in a comedy, that's actually a good rate because the girls are charging.
Yeah.
They really are charging. I do not do readings. I'm so sorry, so I'm going to direct you over to this gentleman. Other than that, I really do appreciate you guys hanging out with us. And we'll see you guys in the next episode. Thank you guys so much. Bye. That was great.
Yeah, I loved it.
Adrian! On some Rocky vibes. Adrian! Let me go.
Okay.
Let me grab it. Oh, I felt that. You hear that?
Yeah.
Oh, child.
That's 35 coming for me.
We paused too.
You paused?
Yeah. I mean, we can say anything.